This is Rydo, and we're back to another recording of Hearthstone. Today is Friday, October 26th. We really don't have a ton of stuff we need to do, but there is a little bit here on the European account. We're already on the European account. Also, there's a slight problem where I could just fall asleep because I'm, still struggling with insomnia. Let's try to get some Druid and Rogue victories. Or actually, let's stick with Odd Paladin because we are on a win streak. I'm also in a weird position because there's not a ton of games to talk about today on this Friday. So we'll finish the news and maybe not finish all the daily quests and go to a silent post show. I don't know why this week in particular has been particularly difficult as far as pushing me into doing silent post shows, but it's been happening more and more. I'm kind of okay with that, but I kind of prefer to get the daily quest stuff done. I guess maybe it really is just that Red Dead Redemption and other games are out now, and maybe there's less competition and less news. Speaking of games that probably aren't competition, we have on Steam the first game I'm not going to show because it's tagged with nudity and sexual content. It's called Loca Love My Cute Roommate. Let's see. It's a visual novel. There's still, for the most part, I think they fixed it where there aren't any screenshots that are super offensive, even ones that are for games that are tagged with nudity and sexual content. But there still is this slight chance and fear that I'll hop into one of these games and start talking about it, and I'll do the web peek, and then there will be a problem. But it's certainly also not doing the web peek causes problems, certainly, because you just don't know what the game is. So I think we can do this. So this is the main character. For an anime girl, she looks the standard moe animation style, perhaps a higher bust size than normal. Seems like there's a secondary Shrine Maiden character. English and Japanese, 15 achievements, $17.99 discounted. So yeah, that's out there in case you want to play it. I personally, as I'm doing the end of the year wishlist cleanup for the first time ever, I'm running into issues of games, what games of specific categories. Like this game in particular is not going to make it to the wish list to follow, because if I was going to play a visual novel and cover it, it would probably be something a little bit more recognizable than that name. And I think I'm willing to miss a lot of hidden gems, frankly, as far as visual novels, particularly if they're tagged with nudity or sexual content. Although there are, to be fair, I mean, I'm a varied person, there are some games that are tagged with nudity and sexual content I'd still love to own, even if I just talk about playing those games at some point in the future and don't actually show any content on YouTube.
The light dims,
let's see.
But we fight.
How are we gonna do this? Let's do this. 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 This.
Reporting for duty.
And that. moving on, Gematsu has an article. A Disgaea series 15th anniversary animation has been created by Nagoya Communication Art Sinmon School. So I don't know what this. It's basically, I think at this point, a slightly approved of, somewhat licensed fan animation. Disgaea Hours of Darkness was the first game that came out for the PS2 in Japan on January 30th, 2003. So I guess I'll watch this minute and 22 long
access denied
video. Really don't know what the story is for Disgaea. It seems like it's a bunch of demons that fight together for some reason.
to battle.
About all I could guess from it.
Reporting for duty.
So this animation is going through a long list of characters that I imagine have been in the games since there's at least 5 games. Now they're all sitting at tables having a party. Like that animation took a turn in a direction I was not expecting at all. Okay, well, that's not super useful information as far as an article. It's like, hey, there's a new animation. If you're really big into Disgaea, which a lot of people in the West probably aren't. I suppose it's news to say that Reset Era is now a year old, and so they have a happy anniversary newsletter. There is certainly some questions about who is on Reset Era and is it a relevant place to find out news about video games or talk about video games. It's worth remembering that Reset Era is this branch website from, is it Game FAQ or something, like another forum, and so I'm not sure I'm not sure if they're a good thing or a bad thing. I can tell you pretty much that I don't follow it. Let's see. Let's just scroll down their video games section and let's see. See what stands out.
For justice.
So let's create an official Reset Era for PS4 dynamic theme. There's this. There's this subreddit drama, or this person named Etika, E-T-I-K, who had a channel on either Twitch or YouTube that was removed for posting porn and then update mental breakdown or hack or something like that. I didn't get the full story. I didn't know who the person was, quite literally, so as far as a streamer, so it didn't seem like it was really relevant.
For justice.
Let's see. There's an article that says, please tag your spoilers. What platform will you be playing Red Dead Redemption 2 on? Let's see. Will the treatment of Rockstar's workers stop you from picking up Red Dead Redemption 2? Night Trap coming to Vita to unlimited run games.
Let me think.
It's scrolling down here.
Let me think.
Like, it really doesn't seem like Reset Era is too bad on its front page. And I imagine that Reddit would be a lot worse. Like, I'm not seeing spam here. I'm not seeing any really opinionated thoughts. This really feels like it's just talking about games. What's happening in the comments, I have no idea, but at least on the top level, let's see. I guess what I should do is either read the FAQ or let's just click on something and see what the top comments are.
For justice. Reporting for duty.
Because I guess that might be a bit of an information.
Our fiction shall never end. Our fiction shall never end.
Jeez, either Reset Era is just like the best moderated forum I have ever seen, or there's nobody on it. Like, wow, I'm really surprised
For justice.
just the way this is going.
Reporting for duty.
I'm not sure I understand this whole system either. It seems like there's no voting up or voting down of messages. There's, like, I'm so used to things like Reddit and karma farming. Let's see.
The battle.
I did that wrong. Should have read what this weapon did.
I'm already attacked. To battle. I must move quickly. Well done.
It's just scrolling down. Yeah, wow. I'm gonna look at the FAQ for Reset Era. But then, who really talks on a forum about video games? Like, that's the next part of the question. Okay, we lost there, so we no longer have a streak. Let's try Druid or Rogue. Like, is this... Says, welcome to Reset Era, a place for video game enthusiasts, industry members, and press to come together and discuss their favorite hobby. I guess that's okay. Like, in general, I would prefer industry members and the press to not talk too much, like, and become friendly. but I guess that's all okay. Better that they all talk in the same open forum and instead of behind closed doors and secret communications.
I must protect the wild.
Which they've totally done. Our goal is to create an inviting bonfire that inspires people to have passionate discussions, build bonds with different kinds of people from all around the world, and in general have a good time in a moderated environment. We want Reset Era to be the central hub for people who love video games and everything surrounding them. We put a lot of value in being fair, transparent, and reasonable with our moderation. We want you to feel safe without feeling oppressed. Well, one of those two might be mutually exclusive.
Time waits for no one.
In fact, it's very possible feeling safe and feeling not oppressed smacks right in the face of feeling free to express your opinion. Like, free speech is kind of...
Speak your peace.
It's gonna challenge people a little bit. This document will outline some of our policy guidelines and that we've been working on to make Reset Era a great forum for discussion. What's really funny is when I see, like, some of the YouTubers I follow get their stories directly from Reset Era, and this is like, oh yeah, this is a legitimate news source, and I'm like, is it? Is it really, or isn't? Before you begin, please read this message from the staff to understand the values behind our founding and how they inform everything we do. So you have to open another tab. Please keep in mind that we put a great effort in making this guide as detailed and specific as we can. It's not possible to foresee and enumerate every behavior that might require moderation.
For the wild.
What a bother.
So, how to participate? Number 1, application. To participate, you need to register with your email address. Please understand that only non-disposable email accounts are permitted in order to grow a manageable, transparent community, and also keep the amount of potential spam accounts as low as possible. During the application process, you will be required to accept our user agreement, which sets forth Reset's terms of service. We may review both the user agreement and privacy policy here. Let's see.
What a bother.
Let's do that. And let's see. After you've successfully registered your account, the activation process begins. This means Reset Era staff will manually check your registration. Once approved, you'll be ready to actively participate in discussions. Account approval will be handled on a case-by-case basis. Please note that the activation process is being done manually. So there's clearly not that many people on Reset Era if it's manually letting people in, and that shows the potential there for great bias.
Is
like
someone injured?
Let's see. Please refrain from contacting staff members about the approval process for your account outside of the forum. If you have any questions concerning the status of the approval, please contact the Reset Era staff email. Note, due to the large volume of emails we receive and variances in staff availability, we may not be able to reply to your email immediately. We appreciate your patience through the process. Okay, so you have to put in an email, and then you get semi-approved to be to comment on Reset Era. And then you get approved a second time to get junior status. After your account is approved, you'll begin as a junior member. This is your chance to get settled and get a feel for the forum, demonstrate your capacity for civil discourse. Moderation may be stricter during this period, but to discourage elitism, there's no public indication of junior member status. I wouldn't be surprised if a significant number of people are junior members on Reset Air. Junior members are not able to create new threads. In order to move from being a junior member to a full member, 2 conditions must be met. 1, 90 days must have passed since your account was approved, and 2, you must have made at least 300 posts. So basically nobody. Like, I don't know, I mean, if you're really getting into a forum, maybe you would make 300 posts. But in my example, when I made an account for Reddit, I made like 2 posts, and that was it. Let's move on. 1 account only. Verification for members working in the press or the entertainment industries. We offer verified accounts. Verified account is identifiable with a verified icon in your profile. Member etiquette. Posting etiquette. Please be polite. Use text options responsibly. Users and creators. Let's see.
The light protects me.
Let's go ahead and do this.
Hey, catch!
Blah 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 blah. There's a whole section here just talking about being nice to video game developers. Here's a quote from it. Claiming the entire studio to be, quote, lazy is not only disrespectful, but also very naive and uninformed. Well, that's a way to... Like, there are entire studios out there that are lazy. I mean,
my children.
like, there has to be. Because it's a scale. In any industry, in any jobs, there's got to be at least one company out there that's the laziest. There are definitely banks out there that are lazier than others. To say no, all video game workers, everybody who works in the video game industry does a good job. Now we see these lazy low effort games on Steam every single day. Like, that's not a real claim you can make.
Hey, catch!
Find a room.
I fight.
Here's another quote in the next paragraph here. Further rules. The same goes for people who are covering the video game industry. Vilifying the entire media outlet for any reason is typically unhelpful. So yeah. Let's keep on playing and get victories. There's the next paragraph. Don't argue in bad faith. Well, you can't. You're gonna have a real hard time proving that. We do not welcome disingenuous arguments, deliberately refusing, ignoring, or refusing to acknowledge counter arguments, or arguing for no reason than to upset other members. Like, you could probably say in no trolling better than that. Read beyond the headline is another paragraph. No drive by posting. Again, hard to prove. Do not come into a thread, write something purposely provocative and bail out. You suggest either making a solid argument or ignoring a thread altogether if you have nothing to contribute. No console wars. No port begging. It's okay to not post. Take a break. Rumors and leaks are allowed, but they ask users to use common sense when doing so. You spoil it in hashtags.
Happy Hallows End.
Alright, section 2, new thread etiquette. Show some effort is one paragraph. Threads LTTP and RTTP. Late to the party and return to the party. Content threads, reaction threads, review threads, official topics. Announcement threads, event threads, no list threads. Number 3. Alright, section 3 of this is not safe for work. Let's see, not safe for network TV. Do not post any material that would be too explicit to be aired on network TV. Interesting, they would argue network TV instead of pub over-the-air TV. Because network TV can put more public indecency. Do not post any material featuring characters wearing clothing that would get a real person arrested for public indecency. So Reset Era is no place for your lewd cam girl pictures. Shame. Next is no underage sexualization. Do not post images, artworks, figurines, or any material, no matter how stylized or fictional, which clearly fetishize or sexualize characters under the age of 18. This restriction also uniquely extends to discussion. Do not condone, defend, or otherwise excuse the sexualization of children. So no anime games basically at all. Because what they would consider under that rule is basically, I think, almost any anime game. Like there's a point to say there that there's some major differences in what is perceived and what is intended in a Japanese game. Be considerate when in doubt. We encourage you to make use of a spoiler tag if you believe it's borderline. Other disallowed content, copyrighted material and piracy, self-promotion and spam, so it's useless for any YouTubers like me. Which is kind of crazy because Reset Era clearly has been designed to be self-promotion of the mainstream video game journalist world and video game developers and their games. See, banned websites and services. Sources. Hate speech, bullying and harassment and doxing. List of prohibited games. Here we go. As a general measuring stick, if a game is not appropriate for a broadcast on Twitch, it is unlikely to be appropriate here. Games that Valve hides on Steam by default due to adult-only sexual content are also prohibited. Do not discuss these games or create threads about them. Other games will only be considered for the list if the staff receives a complaint from the community. After review, the following games have already been prohibited. So, here's the games that you can't talk about on Reset Era. I guess I had a little bit of extra time today, or at least I think I do. I probably don't. I probably wasted time reading this. But it is interesting nonetheless. You can't talk about Dungeons Travelers to the Royal Library. Never heard of it. You can't talk about Galgun. Can you talk about Galgun Double Peace or Galgun 2? Probably not. There's really no reason why you wouldn't be able to talk about it. And yeah, I don't believe, at least in Galgun 1, there actually is any nudity, so You're running pretty specific rules here. You can't talk about hatred, which I thought about keeping hatred on my wish list, but I think it's really lost any relevancy, so I took it off. But again, if you're just talking about something, inherently there is a big problem with Reset Era's rules immediately, as far as censorship and violation of free speech, is you can't even talk about these games. It's not that you can't post pictures from them, you can't post videos from them, you can't go in great details. You literally can't even say, hey, remember that weird game called Hatred? Or talk about how they actually probably sold a lot more copies by selling on the controversy, and they very possibly are quite close to geniuses as far as advertising. A game that really shouldn't have sold it as well as it probably did. You also can't talk about Honey Pop. I managed to cover all of Honey Pop on YouTube. Nobody really. It got demonetized, sure, but I censored the small parts that needed to be censored. I talked about it for hours and hours. You can't talk about Monster Mon Piece. Haven't heard of that one. You can't talk about Negligee love stories. The first game on Steam to ever be released completely uncensored. That's a big deal. That's news. And Reset Era says you can't even talk about it. You can't talk about American Labyrinth Z. The first game in like 10 years to be banned at the UK. In the UK. That's big news. Can't talk about Senran Kagura Burst Renewal, which was the game I believe that was recently censored by Sony. But apparently you can talk about all the other Senran Kagura games. You can't talk about Shinobi Rifle Senran Kagura either. You can't talk about Super Seducer 1 or 2. And you can't talk about Nutaku's game Tits and Tanks. Wow, that's a oddly specific recent listing, and there's probably just games that came out in the past year, if I think about it. So this list is just going to get longer and longer. Let's see. They have a warning system, they have banned users, they have a report system. And yeah, I don't think I'll be doing anything with Reset Era. Like, inherently, there's something wrong with this system too. Like, this first page seems way too clean, which tells me I suspect that there's not really that many people on it. And there's clearly not a lot of people that are allowed to talk on it about things. So my question, I guess, would be, what is their time to a even slightly controversial topic? Because here's a locked one on the second page. Banjo-Kazooie's trademark renewed. And that's locked. Let's see.
What to do?
It's like 974 topics. Yeah, that goes back the entirety. So 974 pages of topics have been made over the course of a year, which is actually a ridiculously small amount. So starting at the end. Yeah, that's just not a lot of pages. It really is not a lot of people talking. And there's just video games. At the top of their banner is video games, hangouts, etc. era, and hangouts again.
I fight.
Job's done. Murder!
Alright, let's move on. Okay. So here's the message from Reset Air staff. Should be playing this.
The scourge will devour all.
Hello world, in the rush since lunch it's come to our attention that we really haven't taken the time to introduce ourselves in the terms of and culture we hope to foster here. After an eventful few days, we fielded questions about how and why we chose to, who gets to use our site as a platform. So, at the very beginning, that phrase, there's a phrase here talking about deplatforming people, and answered some pointed criticism as well. We think this is a good opportunity to speak about our values and explain why they are so important to us. Everything we do begins and ends with a community that decided with one voice, without any direction from above, what it believed in and what it would stand for. Okay, I seriously doubt that.
Job's done.
Yeah. The idea of a immaculate conception of a community, and a community, by the way, that is severely filtered and restricted, is not really a community. It's at best a segregated community. It was not fate that kept us united. A happy ending was never guaranteed. Picture this: thousands of people scattered across dozens of Discord channels, all deciding in unison that we were going to stick together. I don't believe that was the truth. Well, see, what they're doing here is they're refusing to mention the forum that most of these users came from, which I think was Game FAQ is the name of the forum. Is an unlikely story. It's a fake story. Wow, you're gonna start by lying. I'm gonna skip down to the next paragraph because it goes on with this flowery language. If you're new to the community, we welcome you with open arms. What we ask is you aware of our history and what we went through to get here, and what values we cannot compromise. Women, minorities, and LGBTQ, no I's, so and no plus, have all played key roles in making Reset Era happen. This is a place where their concerns can be aired without any intimidation or petty sniping. This is a place where respect and decency will always matter. So,
Speak your peace.
SJWs. For lack of a better term, Reset Era is run by a bunch of SJWs who chose in their first statement to talk about women, minorities, and LGBTQ people, which frankly all of those fall under minorities in general, as last I heard. Like, I would consider women a minority. Maybe I'm wrong about that. But yeah, that's all they want to say. That's their big paragraph, is we're going to protect those people specifically. There's no talk here about free speech at all. Let's go to the next paragraph though. We cannot police the whole internet, but we can set standards for our community, and if those standards were unclear before, we expect they are no longer. This is who we are. So so they're literally saying, yes, we are going to police Reset Air. So a big old censorship pot is what Reset Air is. And it certainly explains a lot, certainly, about how their forum is so incredibly small and how conversations don't really seem to happen at all there. And yeah, that really puts it down on the level that I thought Reset Era was, but I was willing to give them a chance 1 year in to see if maybe they weren't just a festering groupthink center. And don't get me wrong, as much on the left, there are right forums too, like forums on the right that is just all groupthink, and I wouldn't want to be a part of those or read those or get news from those either. Ironically, after that long journey that was probably a huge waste of time, but more and more I'm putting things that I would have done off screen on screen to just save myself some time. Ironically, we have a game on Steam called Rainbow Cult, which is probably a troll game. Yes, this almost certainly is a troll game. Yep, there's no way this would go on the follow list.
The light protects me.
Job's done.
Next we have a game on Steam called Simulacra Pipe Dreams, which is apparently a continuation of the Simulacra series, which is seems like it's a game that takes place on a cell phone, and you play some games on the cell phone. We're playing games on the phone. Let's see if this developer, how this other game Simulacra was received. Oh, come over here to play.
I fight.
So Simulacra 1 is rated, it's an interactive horror experience from exploring a missing woman's phone. So it seems like the Pipe Dreams section is more about the games on the phone as like a spin-off. So there's definitely at least one other game called, well, two other games called A Normal Lost Phone and Another Lost Phone that this game is copying, at least in part. So who did it first or who did it better becomes a question, certainly. But I'll double check and see if these are on my follow list or wish list. It being very, very positive. Oh, and Simulacra Pipe Dreams is free too, so the price is right. Moving on. We have a game on Steam called Tiger Tank 59A Gun, which looks like a Commodore 64 game. Total garbage. 40% off for $1.79. I just don't think games like this need to be continuously created or sold or whatever. I don't even know what people are trying to do with these types of games. Alright, 2, 3. We have a lot of tank games. I wonder if they just held back all tank games to look at them. This one's called Tank Survival Game in Unity. It says it's English only, it's free to play. Man, was there just like a free Unity asset that came out? Is Unity's own asset store directing the creation of some games? Like, that might be the case. Of course, Tank Survival Game is not coming to my wish list or follow list. Gamma Sutra has an article. Let's get back to somewhat real news. Renegotiated music licenses bring Alan Wake back to digital stores. Alan Wake is returned to Steam with other digital platforms like Xbox Store soon to follow. The game which features a soundtrack of a licensed tune, was pulled on sale last summer as a result of those music license expiring. And that was very weird that they wouldn't just renegotiate it and try to make more money right then and there. So it kind of made me wonder if they had run out of money. And maybe that was the case. Maybe it wasn't. Now, a little over a year, Remedy Entertainment says the game is headed back to online stores, starting with Steam, thanks to publishers Microsoft's renegotiation of the music terms. Oh yeah, so Remedy Entertainment basically got Microsoft to pay for it, and I wonder if Microsoft maybe bought Remedy Entertainment, like, because they did buy/work with several companies this year. Let's see.
Tazdingo! Yes!
I don't know if there's anything more to say about this article, though. Nope, not really. Alan Wake is back. I didn't like Alan Wake that much. I've covered it, it's on my channel. Like, I think maybe if you just played the DLC on Alan Wake 1, you'd probably have a slightly better experience than playing the first main story. Or perhaps you should just skip directly to Alan Wake American Nightmare. Okay, I need to play Paladin cards. And I don't think I have the best. Let's... Yeah, I really don't have the best setup right now, so let's make a deck. Paladin... Wild.
Make a wild
Choose here.
You can only use it in wild games.
Don't really need him to say that every time. So I'm just gonna grab as many cheap Paladin cards in the deck. There. Come in here and come over here. Play this. Might as well play ranked. Gamasutra has a different article. DICE offers internship for grad student to study toxicity in Battlefield. DICE has listed an internship on its job, paid or unpaid is a question, ahead of the release of Battlefield 5, soliciting graduate students to analyze toxic and disruptive behavior that takes place in the games. Okay, so first of all, that's illegal, as far as I understand it. Internships are supposed to be 100% work that you don't need. It should be 100% the benefit of the intern, 0% benefit for the company. If you're doing internships and they have you doing work that any other employee would do, if you're doing any kind of work that benefits the company whatsoever, they're using you. That's how I understand internships. That's
amazing.
I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but also I would very much consider not doing internships at all, because they may be getting you a grade in some class, but in the end you do better working a job and taking other classes, and or taking other classes.
To battle! To battle!
Like, this really is just using inexperienced people. The goal of the program, according to the listing, is to give engineers and producers on the Battlefield team a better understanding of player behavior. Which inherently this means DICE does not believe they even understand their own customers. Which might be a fair response, but I mean, yeah, we don't understand how gamers act when playing Battlefield 5, so let's bring in some interns to tell us why the gamers act the way they do. Let's see. Let's just put this user in timeout. Guess we'll just see how that works. Like, clearly the person was not here when they saw me specifically design a deck to get the daily quest done, with no concern whatsoever otherwise. All I'm trying to do is play Paladin cards. So yeah, this is kind of a weird double-edged story that Gamasutra is. DICE is abusing the internship program and the idea of internships to get employees, getting grad students to do work for them, and Gamasutra and DICE are still pushing the idea that there's a lot of toxicity in video games.
Amazing.
And maybe in Battlefield 5 there is, maybe there isn't. It's kind of hard to tell because it depends on what you expect and what you think. It depends a lot on your bias before you even start playing the game, or playing any game. Moving on, we have a game on Steam called My Heroes One Justice. Apparently this is very popular. I've seen a lot of people talking about it. More popular than I thought. I knew this was a pretty popular anime, but I didn't realize it was this popular. It feels like it's almost a new Naruto style game. This is a fighting multiplayer superhero game according to the descriptions. See, the weird like frog girl here, I'd seen her and I kind of dismissed the series because of just how weird this guy looks, and these characters do look pretty weird. But apparently it is a lot more popular. So I guess I'll put it on my follow list. Like 80%, 86% positive here.
wonder. Reporting for duty.
Let's see. Play some more paladin cards.
Amazing.
To battle! I must move quickly. Reporting for duty. For justice.
In turn.
I wonder.
So 1 second. As I take care of this. Alright.
Smart moves. I can
Report that person for harassment and bullying for their stupidity. And my goal was achieved just like I wanted it to. So that puts us in a good position for the European account. We can just jump over to the Asian account now. Dumb person on the chat telling me poor people who don't spend money on Hearthstone should be banned for life. Okay. Alright, Mr. Elitist. Or Miss Elitist, whoever.
Welcome to the end, friend.
We have a GameIndustry.biz article. Jobs roundup. NFL executive Johanna Ferris heads up the Call of Duty World League. This article on GameIndustry.biz would be talking about people who got jobs, though not job listings. So I gotta watch and learn or challenge a friend or something. I've been getting a lot of watch and learns and challenge a friend, so I have 2 card packs to open right now. I guess if I continue to get the classic card packs, I'll eventually get a complete collection of classic cards for all of the accounts, which would be nice. Like there is a balancing factor that will eventually happen, assuming I play long enough on Hearthstone. So that was 10 cards. I suspect 10 duplicates, 9 duplicates. Interesting. And bugged cards. Okay. We need odd cost cards. That'll probably just happen. And ones that cost 5 or more. Do I have a deck that would be 5 or more? I don't know. Let's try Odd Paladin now. That'll solve the odd cost cards, at least. Let's see. Is there anything more in this GameIndustry.biz? Heroes of Storm Director moves to a new role in Blizzard. Former SVP of Activision Blizzard joins Overwatch League franchise. Disney Infinity exec joins Gearbox. Team 17 CFO retires. The Initiative poaches Rockstar veteran. 2K UK fills new senior PR role. Ubisoft elevates Frederick Dugat to chief financial officer. Handy Games appoints a new international PR lead. Altagram names CEO of newly established location office. Draw and Code announces key hires, formerly of Hasbro and Chilingo. New CMO and Senior Business Development Manager at Fanatical. 3 senior hires at Seriously. There's been apparently a lot of inside baseball job hirings. More than I thought. So you can read the jobs roundup on GameIndustry.biz if you're interested. Oh, I haven't mentioned it today so far, but I now have, well, at least last time I looked, I had 300 subscribers. So the old limit on YouTube was videos had to get 301 views before YouTube really cared about them or monetized them or something like that. So the idea that I'm just one shy subscriber from being possibly to the old standard is pathetic, certainly, but better than it was. Honestly, I think I was probably below 200 last by the time we started this year. So if we could double it to 600 in the next 6 months and then get it up to 1,000 by the next 12 months, that would be amazing. It'd be nice if it was a lot higher. Then I could get back in the partner program, get my few pennies for advertising, for having AdSense. Okay, I'm gonna, I guess, play this, and then
I fight.
This. I should have done that first, then played this.
For justice.
That was dumb.
Countermeasures.
In the turn. Gamasutra has a similar article. Former Runic game devs set up new studio to create co-op games. The studio behind Torchlight and Hob was shut down by its publisher Perfect World last year. Currently a team of 8, Monster Squad, was formed by former Runic Games head Marsh Leifler, alongside Patrick Blank, Alan Fogg, and Josh Dunbach. Most of the team is comprised of former Runic or Borderlands developers. Yeah, I wonder, I really wonder how many people, even at Gearbox, worked on any of the Borderlands games. It really does feel like most of them moved on and it got underreported. While they haven't talked about the first project, they already have secured funding and the intention to publish the game in-house. So this will be interesting to see what Monster Squad does, if anything. Although, in a funny way, somebody else wants some reporting too.
Let me think.
We'll just catch all the different accounts in one wide net.
Move quickly.
There, I can report all day. I should have played this and this. Alright, that didn't work. So we've got a game on Steam called Polzoon. It looks like an MS Paint looking game. Doesn't seem like that's coming to the follow list. 84 cents discounted. Let's close that. I want to hurry up and finish the news. I might even decide to leave some things for the weekend. Like for Monday. Darn it. I am just being very distracted. Gematsu has an article. Layers of Fear 2 announced. What's interesting here is how do you do Layers of Fear 2? Because the DLC and the game is like, like you kind of have to set it in a completely different scenario. It can't be the same characters. And is the game gonna really be any better? Because I kind of felt like the DLC with the daughter was better, slightly improved, had more of a story. So maybe they're just using the same name. But if it is really just the way Layers of Fear 1 with some very similar spooky stuff that really wasn't that spooky, I doubt many people are going to play it. Of course, also Layers of Fear is one of those games that probably got too much hype just because it was being played by streamers, and I bet not very many streamers are going to come back and play the sequel. That tends to be the case. We already talked about Alan Wake being relisted on Steam, but Gematsu has an article too, which is slightly interesting. I guess we're supposed to. I should keep these five mana cards. We have a game on Steam called Redbeard Labyrinth, which looks like an asset flip game. Dungeon crawler. Very simplistic UI. Very simplistic textures and walls. See, to be fair, I really wouldn't know how to change a texture like this to make it look not like an asset flip either. My assumption there is probably getting very high resolution, highly detailed walls, adding layers of shadows or I don't know, moss, dust, something to make it look less uniform. There's probably a lot of processes and thoughts that would have to go to it. Redbeard's Labyrinth is $3.59 discounted, and yeah, not worth it.
The light dims, but we fight.
Photonic burst. Reporting for duty. Job's done.
So next game we have on Steam is called Coffeeance, which is, I have no idea. It says it's a player versus player game. Seems like it has something to do with fighting with coffee. It's 90% positive with 10 reviews, which doesn't mean much, but this looks like a joke game, but if it's cheap, I might put it on the follow list. Just keep an eye on it, because I could see it being kind of like a dive kick clone style game. $12.74 though. Seriously? That's asking a lot. And while it may have some single player, it probably doesn't have much of a single player.
Protects me.
Don't want gonna switch the health and attack for all minions. Doesn't really matter.
Photonic burst.
I fight. Repent.
The battle.
Well, I guess I'll put Coffee Ints on the follow list. Next, we have a game on Steam called The Mirror Light. It's an RPG maker game. Looks very low effort. Like, these RPG maker games don't even take up the full screen. Like, minimum number of screenshots. It's free, I guess. And they spoil and explain everything here. I guess you could be worse about it. It's rated positively for its 22 user reviews that it got, but as a free game, as an RPG maker game, I don't see any reason why I would play it.
Reporting for duty.
Ever. So that's one to easily close. Next we have Medieval Battle Simulator, which seems like it's a overly simplified Unity game. Not enough detail, not enough polish here. Like, maybe if this was a cell phone game, that would explain the lack of texture and detail, but since this is a PC game, that's just really bad. Doesn't seem like they even show off any more options, so it feels like there's probably not very many. And they want $1.79 right now discounted for that game. Let's do this and this,
Mushroom power.
and then end the turn. Game industry has an article, Rockstar, quote, overtime is not mandatory, which, yeah, they tried to say that, but basically every boss ever says that, and then they put influence on people or deny bonuses or say you're not a good team player, you don't fit the corporate culture. I mean, there's a million and one different ways to make up some excuse to lie, to punish, fire, or force somebody into overtime, while still on the book saying overtime is not mandatory. This is inherently a part of a much bigger issue of businesses which are designed to just suck humans dry and sell their effort.
The battle.
They should not be allowed to have so much control and influence on people's lives, but they do because capitalism exists. It's like, in a way, you could potentially make a very good argument that capitalism really has nothing to do about the buying and selling of goods, and it really just has to do with about the creation of needs and enslaving or controlling people so that they work for you to fulfill these needs.
Reporting for duty.
Like, not very many people are running their own farms just to feed themselves and their families. They're having to pay mortgages, they're having to pay for education, education and student loans being a big issue there. They're having to pay for vehicles to get to their jobs that are too far away, having to pay for expensive clothes quite often that they wouldn't own in any if it weren't for the fact that they were required to at that job. Anyways, I could go on a rant there, but I'm trying to rush here and finish. Next we have a game on Steam that's either called Laddies or Ladies. I don't know how you spell Laddies. A classic board game, you fight a battle against a computer. This looks like checkers to me. Whatever it is, if it is supposed to be some other kind of board game that I've never heard of, it is also yet another low effort game that's not taking up even the screenshot. This is not like some bug on Steam, I'm fairly certain. Even if it is, like, this, what I am seeing looks awful. This is 59 cents discounted.
Let me think.
Let's come over here.
Access denied.
Play this.
Reporting for duty.
Let's see. TechRaptor has an article, brackets correction, indie dev and Marvelous community affiliate petitioning Sony to stop censoring Japanese games. Updating correction.
Harvest time.
Let's see. The person reached out, his name is Yuk4K or something, to us and clarified his position in relation to Marvelous. So apparently they thought he worked for Marvelous, but he's actually a community affiliate. Essentially, he sometimes works with them to test out and bounce around ideas.
To battle.
But he works for the indie developer Is Grizzle Studio, who are releasing a visual novel later this year. He has not previously worked for Marvelous, though he has been in very good relationship with them. We have updated the article below to reflect this and apologize for the error. So, the correction is a small correction. Corrected now. Yaguk4K on Twitter has started a change.org petition, the ever useless website, in the hopes of drawing attention to Sony's alarming tact towards censoring localized games. Let's see if we can get through this article fairly quickly. Skip a section. He has a Twitter tweet here in English that says, "It's time to protect the games we love, enjoy. Change.org link, hashtag Sony, hashtag Sinra and Kagra, hashtag fan service PS4, hashtag petition." And then down below it says help each other, and then there's a couple of sentences, it looks like, in Japanese. This is talking about Sinrin Kagura Burst Renewal, which is not allowed to be talked about on Reset Air, apparently.
Reporting for duty.
Let's see.
To battle.
Skipping down here. I'm trying to see if they have what the petition actually says. Yeah, I guess there's nothing more to really say here about this story. Yeah, he started the change.org petition. And I guess I could click on the petition. Let's see. See what that says. Making good progress. Just need to play some more odd cards and some more cards. Right.
Uther versus Malfurion.
I must protect.
I don't think I've ever actually been on a change.org petition before. Seems like this is not saying much, it's just mentioning these games, and I can say that there are 2,562 people that have signed this petition, and to sign you have to put in your information. Interesting. I want to see if you can be from Japan. Looks like you can too. So yeah, seems like you just put in your information, your name, your email, city, zip code, stuff like that. Play that.
Reporting for duty.
GameIndustry.biz has a different article. .emu, the Arcade Crew, and the Retro Revival. CEO Cyril Imbert and marketing head Arnaud de Sousa explain how the studio and its publisher and label are bringing back classic style to a new generation of fans and aspiring developers. I don't, off the top of my head, know what .emu has released recently.
Access denied.
The battles.
Earlier this year, .emu announced it was putting together a new indie publishing label called the Arcade Crew, with the aim of publishing original IP rather than .emu's traditional focus on revitalizing existing retro IP.
Attention, class.
Okay. Well, the story goes on further. Wonder Boy. That's what they've been doing. Okay. I get it now. Story is there if you want to read it. It's probably not super important information.
Deploying countermeasures.
This. And that. GameIndustry.biz has a different article. Focus Home Interactive posts H1 Growth appoints a new CEO.
Attention, class.
The former business director John Burt will take on the new executive role as publisher as they enter H2. I don't know what H1 and H2 stands for. Like, is that how you say quarter?
The light protects me.
Or
Deploying countermeasures.
don't know what that means. Well, that article also is there, but that's an Inside Baseball article. I've got too many of these Inside Baseball articles. TechRaptor has an article. Battlefield 5's post-launch roadmap reveals Battle Royale coming in March. I don't care about Battlefield 5, but I'll read the headline and tell you to it. And after taking a break from looking at games on Steam, the very next game that's on Steam is called Tank Bomb. It's like, man, this cannot be a coincidence that there are so many low-effort tank games that were released at the same time. This one's 99 cents. It's got to be that Steam is now specifically looking at certain games based on their name or based on a very generic classification, and only approving certain games at certain times. And so today turned out to be the Tank Day. I don't know why. Next game I have on Steam is a troll game where you are seeing the different behinds, and it looks like it's basically a clicker where you're slapping the behind of these floating butts, and that's kind of it. It looks like troll game, clearly. So I'll close that.
I wonder.
Summon that.
Reporting for duty.
That. Come over here. Play that.
Reporting for duty.
Next we have a game on Steam called Pit of Evil. It's an RPG Maker game. At least this RPG Maker game is managing to take up most of the screen. And man, it definitely looks twice as good as the previous RPG Makers we've been looking at today. $8.99 discounted though. Basically gonna dismiss any RPG Maker game though, so it sucks for you, but people know that. Game developers know that if you make an RPG Maker game, people are gonna directly dismiss it. They don't care, though. They know some people will still buy it. So this next story is quite interesting to me because I recently, over the past couple of years, have gotten into playing with Raspberry Pis, although really off and on. Game Sutra has an article, Raspberry Pi launches game dev magazine wireframe. Now on one thought that sounds very intriguing and I maybe want to read it. On the other thought though, oh my goodness, is Raspberry Pi going to jump into bed with game devs and come out the other side as raving lunatic SJWs? Like, I really don't know. Raspberry Pi Foundation is a UK foundation. Does that really change anything? Maybe, maybe not. Like, while the UK is getting kind of crazy in different ways, I'm not sure if any of it connects or relates. I'm gonna play this, and then do this, and then win.
Reporting for duty.
On the other hand, the Raspberry Pi Foundation already is kind of into the deeper nerddom of computers and electronics, and so they kind of already know some of the stuff that's happening with Linux, almost certainly, where there are people that are potentially threatening the entire destruction of everything Linux has ever built because they're preaching somewhat SJW ideals over what Linus Torvalds was doing, where Linus Torvalds, the creator of the Linux kernel, was kind of rude and aggressive a lot of times, but he was a strong leader and he didn't kowtow to people's feelings, and they convinced him, I don't even know how they did that, to take a little bit of a break and be nicer, and then they changed the rules basically, and said everybody has to be nice to each other and respectful in their actions and their comments in the programming. And there's a pretty big backlash for that, but I mean, I'm certainly getting way off topic here. Let's read this article. Raspberry Pi, the company behind the minimalistic single-board computer of the same name, has launched a new game development magazine called Wireframe. While the arrival of the magazine focused on game development is a welcome sight, it's particularly notable because Wireframe is getting a print run in the UK. The mag will be released every fortnight. So, is this going to be some kind of really nerdy Nintendo Power type magazine? I don't know. The first print will issue as free, or at least 10,000 copies are, but will retail for £3 per issue in the UK going forward. If paper doesn't float your boat anymore, the magazine will also be available online free of charge, making it more accessible if you don't fancy forking out for overseas shipping. Quote, magazine publishing can be a challenging environment. It demands innovation, and it's to have a future and doing things a little differently has certainly paid dividends with our other magazine titles to date, says the Raspberry Pi CEO. So apparently they've got some other magazines, so they already know what they're doing and not just being totally insane. It sounds pretty insane to me. It sounds pretty crazy to me. Apologies for coughing. Yep. Wireframe is a vote of confidence in computer games journalism is the next sentence, quote, strengthened by a fortnightly model that will enable us to be more responsive. Fortnight meaning every four weeks, or like honestly I would never be able to remember when it's coming out or not. And a free web version that suits the generation used to consuming. So here's the first comment. This brings me some sad memories. I discovered the Game Developers magazine back in 2011, but was a student on the ramen diet, so buying a subscription was out of the question. Well, with that being said, I'm super excited. I skipped some of what he said. It's my second shot, my time for a non-Wild West redemption. I really don't know about this one. I really don't know. Like, this could be really bad for the Raspberry Pi Foundation. That being said, they already print the Magpie and Hackspace magazine, so it might just be another magazine.
Let me think.
In a list, and it might be kind of a nothing piece too. Like, one can hope.
Converting stored energy.
Let's see.
Hand is too full.
So get your first free issue now. Requires you to sign up in the email. Well, and then they immediately want all your information. Can you not just download it? Let's see. The Magpie magazine was the one that gave a free Raspberry Pi Zero in when you got it.
Let me think.
Yeah, that was actually a really cool thing. You got this free Raspberry Pi Zero. Then Hackspace has a Circuit Playground Express that they are giving away.
I wonder.
I don't think they've been running any of these very long though. Why did I do all of that? That was a waste. Hopefully it's nothing. I guess it's probably not going to be anything. It's a little paranoid to assume that just because they're making a video game magazine that that Raspberry Pi is going to turn into something I hate. It's possible they already are something I hate, and I've just been ignorant to that fact, and I'd prefer to stay that way. I prefer them to just be the organization that makes the system on the board computers that I like.
Hand is too full.
It's going to be very weird if the Raspberry Foundation comes out with an article that says emulation is wrong or ROMs are evil when when that's what the Raspberry Pi is used for quite often. Moving on, Gamasutra has an article. Epic Games secures $1.25 billion from multiple investors. So the publisher behind Fortnite has gotten a bunch of money from several people I could name here if I cared to, but I don't.
I dream and the world trembles.
Reporting for duty.
Let's see. So I'm gonna close that article. That was a Gamasutra article. I swear, did we not just cover a game called Pit of Doom? There's another game called The Pit of Doom. This looks more like a Doom clone, though, a 3D Doom clone. You know what? This one almost makes me want to put it on the follow list. There's polish here. This isn't the best UI I've ever seen, but this doesn't look like just absolute total garbage. So I'm gonna put the Pit of Doom on the wish list. I've noticed that today, in an effort to save time, I'm not going back and looking at I'm not looking to see if the games have previously
The battle.
I should have done that one instead. And then I should have done that.
Reporting for duty.
Gamasutra has an article. Edge Case Game ends development of free-to-play Fractured Space. And we are done with the daily quests. Okay. Let's just stay in where we are. Take this. Play Control Priest. Let's play a Spell Hunter. Why not? And do this. So I guess you could get more information, but Edge Case Games ends development of free-to-play game for Fractured Space. Explains it pretty well. Gamasutra has an article. Best Buy to stock select limited run games titles, including Ukulele for the Switch and Golf Story. So this publisher limited run is getting more deals. Let's see. We have a game on Steam called Aladrinium, which may be a low polygon nothing game, like a resource game, or might be something actually. No, this is just an asset flip low polygon resource game. Let's see, what do we want? Probably want at least a couple. No, this is actually the deck I think that has no spells at all. Nothing but spells. GameIndustry.biz has an article. Rockstar's broken work ethics. Former employees detail mandatory long hours, unpaid overtime, and a culture of fear at studios behind Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead Redemption. I'm not sure I really want to cover any of the GTA games. Also, like, I would really like to get comments from my fans to say, hey, how relevant really is it to play any of the GTA games? I mean, do they really matter anymore? Or are they just too old and forgotten about a little bit? Moving on, Gamasutra has an article. The Library of Congress just made preservation a little bit easier. They passed a new ruling that makes preserving video games a little bit easier. The Library of Congress has agreed to, quote, adopt exemptions to the provision of the Digital Millennium Copyright Act that prohibits the circumvention of technology measures controlling access to copyrighted work. In short, that means it's now easier for video game historians to circumvent the DMCA in the pursuit of preserving and sharing culturally relevant video games. I believe I was one of the people, many people certainly, but I believe I was one of the people that wrote to the Library of Congress and told them, look, you should adopt these measures, that this was very important. So I'm sure they got a lot of responses and had some poor intern read them all. The quote, the acting registrar found that the record supported granting an expansion in the relatively discrete circumstances where preservation institution legally possesses a copy of a video game server code or a game's local code, reads the excerpt from the 85-page document. She concluded, quote, she concluded that in such circumstances the preservation activity described by proponents are likely to be fair uses. She further found that proponents demonstrated that such uses would be adversely affected by statutory prohibition absent an exemption. Man, this is legalese talk. Really just straight legalese. Another quote, the record indicated that an exemption would enable future scholarship by enabling researchers to experience games that were originally played and thereby better understand the designs and constructions. So directly in that quote, it's talking about, you know what, college kids that are too young to have played, say, E.T. on the Atari or was it the, yeah, it was the Atari, might benefit from playing an emulated version of E.T. and learning from that. It's a crazy enough idea. Next turn we'll summon 4 wolves. Yeah, this article goes on, but it all sounds like good news. So if you want to read this article, the Library of Congress just made game preservation a little bit easier. Certainly not super easy, though. We've got a game on Steam called WayZ, which clearly is just a pun on DayZ. And it looks like a simplistic, low-effort Unity game of some sort. Seems like it's saying it's a puzzle, but I do not understand this puzzle at all. And it's not visually appealing enough to make me want to understand it. It's 69 cents at a discount, so I assume it's just a very low effort game. And attack. And I could have played a secret. And I could play a secret now. But I guess we'll wait. I'm gonna have some games left over, I think, for Monday. That should be fine. We have a game on Steam called Steampunk Graveyard. I think I already talked about this game. Doesn't look that interesting. It looks like it's a bit of a Terraria clone. It actually looks a lot better than most of the games we've seen today. Today's just been an awful day for quick game quality. $2.39. It is not worth that much though. I can put that there. And then we do this. I should have played the other way first. And this. Alright. Let's take a moment here and come out here. We have a game on Steam called Quicker Dick's Terrible Tale for Terrible Parents to Read to Their Equally Terrible Children. This is apparently a RPG Maker troll game. It has quite a terrible name for 59 cents. I'm gonna just go through a bunch of these things and just see if I can really burn through the rest of the news. TechRaptor has Magic the Gathering Arena, announces streamer events and direct multiplayer. Sounds interesting, but Magic the Gathering Arena still, I think, is in beta, and I don't think I'm moving to that. Gamasutra has a level design tips and tricks article that's really going to only be interesting to developers. Let's see, we've got Sable's Maze 12 Fears Collector's Editions from Big Fish Games, which will be a $12.99 hidden object game. So nothing there too interesting. We've got yet another tank game called Stride. At least this one looks slightly different for free to play, so I guess the price is right. But this really is mostly a tank game, is it not? Not a chopper game? Up to 64 players online. Yeah, right. Let's see, we already talked about that. Let's see. We have a game called Zen vs. Gravity, which looks like it's just a very simplistic game with some random backgrounds behind it. It's random visuals for a very, very simplistic game. That looks different though. How much do they want for this? $4.79. Certainly not worth that much. Just all the bad games. All the bad games today. Okay. We've got a visual novel tagged nudity and sexual content called Sabat the Witch. I guess I could show this much here. And then come back this way. And then, because I know the thumbnail is good enough. This looks very well animated in the intro and in the game itself, so this doesn't look like a low effort visual novel. This looks full effort. $26.99. I think Sabat the Witch probably is a game to consider if I was going to put visual novels on the follow list. So, am I going to put visual novels on the follow list? I guess I have to, after just like any other game. It really doesn't make any sense otherwise. GameIndustry.biz had a tweet said Rockstar expected to earn over $500 million in royalties this year, most of which go to the Hauser brothers, which are, I assume, the bosses of the Rockstar. That's what it sounds like they are. We have a game called Relic Raiders, which looks slightly good. Free to play, though, so I would never play it because it's just an online game. It definitely has more polish than your average game. This probably isn't the next big MOBA, but you might want to try it out if you're big into MOBAs. Maybe. Maybe not. I'm not 100% certain on it. But I'm just going to close it. TechRaptor has an article. Microsoft may be bringing Xbox Games Pass to PC. It's being reported by Eurogamer, according to TechRaptor. I suppose that wouldn't really affect me much, but it would make more sense. But then it also means that you probably would still get the games through the Windows Store, so I'm not sure about that. I wouldn't want to get the games through Windows Store. Gematsu has an article, Brave Dungeon Shigi no Imi announced for the Switch and PC. Let's see if we can watch a gameplay trailer and see what it is. It looks like it's a top-down RPG, kind of like an RPG Maker looking game. Doesn't look super interesting. It'll launch in 2019 in Japan, so don't have to worry about it for a while. We already talked about that story. We have a game on Steam called Pixel World, which looks like it's a very low effort game that happens to they got like one anime girl asset and then made Pac-Man. Made a very bad version of Pac-Man. It's early access for $2.99, undiscounted. Yeah, you're not really selling me on this one. Next we have a game on Steam called Hamlet, which is a low effort game if I've ever seen one. Rating pending. Early access, $8.49. Man, these games look horrible. There really is a question that it comes down to is like, why did those games even get allowed on? I know Steam doesn't want to curate their stores and they want to allow everything on, but some of these are clearly troll games even by their own standards. Next we have a game on Steam called Monster League, which is a racing game. It might be cool. Like a Mario Kart clone. It looks like it has some polish on it. It's not from any publisher or developer I've ever heard of, but this might be good. So I'm going to put this on the follow list. It doesn't seem like it's part Rocket League. I see that now, but it also seems like it has racing sections where you're straight up just racing like Mario Kart. And going with the monsters as a concept is an interesting one too. One of the games I had to take off my wish list was a Hello Kitty racing game, just because it was rated very poorly and seemed to run very poorly according to the reviews. Next we have Count Logica, which is some kind of puzzle game. Seems like a very simplistic Picross game. Yeah, I don't think this would make it to the wish list. It's 10% off for $1.79. We really have a lot more games to cover. We have Virtual Villagers Origins 2. This seems like it's a survival resource simulation, resource management game. I don't think so. Free to play, but I guess the price is right, but I don't think I'd play Virtual Villagers Origins 2. Next we have a game called Vindicta Arcade, which looks like it's a VR only game. Yeah, requires VR, it's $19.99. Stand in one place for the most part and shoot. They're basically all the same. This doesn't look amazingly good, doesn't look terrible. If you've already invested in a very expensive headset, this might be alright for you. Otherwise, I wouldn't invest in a headset for it. I'm not going to put that on the follow list though. TechRaptor has an article, side-scrolling dark fantasy RPG Sand is the Soul comes to Steam this November. This is an article about a game that's not out yet, so we don't really need to talk about it. We have a game called Mojo 2 Mia that's tagged sexual content and nudity, so I'll show the top of it and then we'll see how this breaks down. Yep, it is a 2048 clone with that anime girl on the side, and she has a huge bust that is being accentuated and shown, and incredibly impossible hips. And it seems like what happens is she loses clothes as you progress in the story, and there's potentially like several different outfits. Seems like all it is. It's free to play, but a lot of these free to play games that you have to remember also very possibly have microtransactions in them or something else wrong with them. Let's see. Let's see. GameIndustry.biz updated its article that was called "Analyst Expects Hauser Brothers to Receive $538 million in Red Dead royalties." The update says, "Update: Take-Two clarifies that last year's royalties of $383 million was shared across all studios." So they're saying no, it doesn't go directly to the Hauser brothers, but which makes a little bit more sense, but maybe not. TechRaptor has an article, Hellgate London revives in the West on Steam. This is a 2007 RPG. It's going to be re-released November 15th. I know people really liked Hellgate London. It will include the latest version of the updated and redesigned game, as well as version 2.0 of the Hellgate Tokyo game currently available on Korean servers, but will currently only feature single player mode. I know people kind of like the Hellgate London game, but it didn't get enough people that it needed to be an MMO game, is basically what I got from it. We've got a game on Steam called Super Jigsaw Puzzle Space. A very simplistic, generic jigsaw puzzle game. We've seen a dozen of these in the past month alone. $3.99 with 20% off for it. No thank you. TechRaptor has an article, fan translation of Shin Megami Tensei IF has been released. So this is a fan translation that was 6 years in the making, and you can just download the patch and play it. It says, TechRaptor says, Shin Megami Tensei IF can be considered a precursor to the modern Persona games, even as they may not share much mechanically. Let's see. This doesn't seem like there's any official endorsement. I thought there kind of was some official endorsement of that, of it, but apparently not. We've got a game called Square World Unpixeled, which looks like a Terraria clone, and that looks uninteresting. 15% off for $8.49. See, a game like this that looks like this, I'm not even going to give it 5 seconds to look at it. I'm just like, okay, yeah, this is a Terraria clone. I'm not interested. It looks worse than Terraria. So, go ahead and close that. The next game we have is called Threshbriar Hall, which is this a horror game suffering a lot from dark screenshot syndrome. I guess I need to put these horror games on the follow list. Because I just don't know. And I bet you're not going to really ever know until some people play it and review it. This is $9.99. And yeah, this could be just what low effort horror games look like these days. It very well may be the case of things just look really, really good, but they just don't play very well. So I'll put that on the follow list. I guess I have no choice. Remember that game 2 Point Hospital that everybody was talking about? Well, Tech Raptor has an article, sandbox mode coming to 2 Point Hospital, beta available now. 2 Point Hospital may be a great game, but it is definitely a game that is just like not as popular as the mainstream video game media made it out to be. It was getting way overhyped. Way overhyped. Let's see. We have a game on Steam called Talk to Yuno. It's a visual novel. Let's see. Still not. I guess all visual novels do end up. Just have to end up on the follow list. This feels like this is a cell phone port of a visual novel. Maybe visual novels are gonna port themselves to cell phone games. This is $2.52, 54 cents. That's actually really cheap too. Interesting. Chat with her, input keywords, or simply check in to see what she's doing. It seems like it's not really a visual novel that much either. It seems like it's almost like a random interaction game. Interesting. I'll put it on the follow list just to see how people like it. We've got a game on Steam called Serenade of Sirens that looks like MS Paint level graphics. I mean, this might be designed for little kids, but it also looks horrible. It's early access for $3.59. I think even for this, that's probably too much, but at least that is a more reasonable price for something that you know is not animated that well. We've got Lethal League Blaze. This is going to go on my follow list. There's too many people that like it, are talking about it. The mainstream media is talking about it a little bit too much for me not to at least think about playing it. Maybe in the end I wouldn't actually play it, but I don't know. Like, I don't know how much entertainment you'd really get in the single player content alone, which is all I would cover, and so that's another issue for me to consider. Next we have a game called Zero Spring Episode 1 English translated version. And don't worry, there was a Japanese translated version too. Seems like though, regardless of what version you're getting probably an asset flip, pretty awful game, low screenshot, dark screenshot syndrome. Don't want to confuse my phrases here. 99 cents for the game. Yeah. I don't know if I'd ever want to really buy anything that's episodic again. It seems like that's just a recipe for disaster. Next we have Super X Chess, which looks like it's just a chess game. You combine your own pieces. The combined pieces move like both pieces. I want to see this. Like, show me a video of how this works. You combine pieces. So this pawn, oh, that pawn could combine into the bishop, and then that does what? I guess you lose the piece, but it can then move like both pieces? It seems like this is a crazy idea for chess. How much do they want for it? $9.89? I'll follow this. It's crazy enough that it might just catch some chess fanatics. Next we have a game called The Colonist. A bunch of robots playing a city builder. Doesn't look terrible. It might be no good, certainly. It could just be a generic resource management game, but at least there's some polish and everything I'm seeing, so I'll put that on the follow list. Wouldn't be surprised if some of these were already supposed to go on the follow list. We've got a game called Witch of the Woods, which is a RPG style game, it looks like. Doesn't look amazingly interesting. This art style and this art style feel very different. Neither one of them feel like the kind of art style you'd want for an RPG. $2.99. I don't think so. I think we can close this one. Alright, 3 more games and then we'll be done for today. We have Pumpkin Death Garden, which looks like it is a asset flip game, low effort game. Look at this terrible menus. It's early access for $1.39. Yep, no need to look at that game anymore. Next we have a game called Spellfront, which I don't think... One of the games that was on my wish list that I'm still not sure I could ever play, but I'm keeping it on the wish list, requires you to talk into a microphone and cast spells. Sounds like a recipe for disaster, particularly as I'm commenting and talking on the about the video game. I want to do the work here and determine whether this is a good game or not. I don't want to have to say, actually, I don't know, I'll have to investigate this game even more. It feels like it's a VR game, but it doesn't have any VR support. $7.19 early access. I'm gonna put this on the follow list. It looks like it has at least a little bit of polish on it. So last game we have is called You, The Untold Stories, and it seems like it's just a simple game. Oh, it puts your face into the game. How's this? It's an action-adventure game, indie PC game inspired by classics like Dynasty Warriors and Tomb Raiders. The gameplay includes hack-and-slash sequences and mind-boggling puzzles, and you can import your own pictures to get a version of you. Get a version that you are the main character. Like, I have no interest in that whatsoever. I guess this was probably originally ported this probably was a PlayStation game that used the PlayStation Eye to do this originally, if I was to guess. Is this game really worth playing, or is it just a gimmick game? Because it sounds like a gimmick game. And it's $2.79. I think that puts it in the category of gimmick games. Okay, so that leaves me with a moderately long list of games that I'll have to deal with and put on the follow list. I have a lot of other work I need to do as I'm still doing the end of the year Steam wishlist cleanup. I could look at my Twitter feed real quick and see if there's anything new, but I assume there isn't because it's Friday. And yeah, I just really doubt that there's gonna be any new thing to talk about. Some games certainly have come out on what's on Steam, and I'll have to talk about them. But yeah, I scrolled down to 3 hours ago when Dead Space 2 episode 20 aired on my channel. I think that's good enough. I'm still not sure what's going on with the thumbnails on Twitter. I kind of wonder if maybe they've changed the requirement and maybe my announcements are just too long. I think maybe I'll just do a really short style of announcement of videos next time I schedule them and see what happens. Okay, that's it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. Links to things like Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Google+, Steam, and Battle.net. And if you want to support me, you can support me through Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist, or just a game you'd like to see me cover, or gift me a gift card. That's it for this recording again. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.